Sky Sports.
Croft in North Yorkshire is the venue for the Shannon Holdings Rallycross Superprix. There's a bumper crowd on hand to watch the action. It's fine autumnal weather. There's a big entry of Division 1 cars, 18 of them over the course of the weekend, and some star names as well. Multiple European champion Kenneth Hansen and last year's winner Chris Evans.
We've 18 cars, everyone's capable of winning. It's great to see it, and the European drivers coming over for the event as well, which it's great to see.
Kenneth Hansen has won most things in Rallycross. The one thing he's never won is the Superprix.
We have been, I think it's the third time now on the Superprix, and last year we were second, so that was the best result. So hopefully we can claim the win this weekend, but it will definitely be hard also. And we have some European entries, but the British and the Irish people are very, very fast here in Croft. So it's not easy to make a win here, that's for sure.
Andrew Jordan is one of the rising stars of Rallycross, and this weekend he's in Per Eklund's old-shaped Saab 9.3 rather than his regular Ford Focus.
Yeah, it's not as different as I first thought it would be compared to the Focus. We would have liked to do it with the Focus, but Will's away, so Will's put the deal together with Per to win in the second half. The level of competition is great, so that's when you make silly mistakes like having a spin, it just makes it very hard to get into the final now.
Not surprisingly, there's been action all weekend here at Croft. Not only is there a huge crowd, a huge entry, and lots of different classes in action, both on and off track. We're ready for the first of the semi-finals. The cars making their way up onto the grid, and Chris Evans, last year's Superprix winner, is there lined up ready for action, but he's going to face some tough opposition here. Ollie O'Donovan lines up alongside him, for example. O'Donovan driving Per Eklund's new-shaped Saab 9.3, a deal broker to put Ollie O'Donovan in the car this weekend. And the crowd enthusiastic about what is about to happen then, because this has all the makings of being a very fierce race indeed. George Tracy, you can see on the second row of the grid alongside Andrew Jordan. Away they go. Good start made by Evans, who gets his nose in front. George Tracy gets right up alongside O'Donovan there. Down towards Clervaux Corner they go. It's Chris Evans though who grabs the lead as O'Donovan comes charging up on the inside and goes straight into him, knocks him round. O'Donovan ploughs through the gravel. And what's happened to Evans in all of that? That's Andrew Jordan on the grass trying to recover. He's back on track now. Jordan recovers, but what happened to Evans in all of that? That was a big, big impact that he took. And they're getting it all wrong and going off is Chris Cake. He's hired Torben Moller's Seat Cordoba, the ex-World Rally Championship car for this weekend. And that spin is not going to help his cause. Now look at this, O'Donovan doesn't even seem to brake. He comes charging up on the inside there of Evans. Goes straight into the rear corner of the car. Evans gets turned sideways. O'Donovan, still carrying all of that speed, runs off through the gravel. And it looks as though we are going to have a restart, because there is the remains of Chris Evans' car with, no doubt, badly broken suspension at the back of the car. Evans gets out and is not terribly amused about life. So the restart is about to get underway without Chris Evans, and this may well leave the door open for the Saabs of O'Donovan or Andrew Jordan here. The restart leaves the line, but the best start of all comes from George Tracy there, look, who storms away from the line, and Andrew Jordan trying to go up on the inside, and look at Steve Hill in the Mitsubishi number 4 also trying to get on the act. A very brave start by all of them. It's O'Donovan though, round the outside again. He runs out of road through the gravel, keeps his foot in and spears himself back onto the circuit in second place, and still tries to brave it out round the outside of George Tracy. He runs out of road and Jordan goes by as well. Onto the loose section of the circuit they go then. The John Guest back Saab, the Canterbury Saab entered line 3 of Andrew Jordan, chasing on after George Tracy's Peugeot, and now third is the Shannon Holdings back Saab of Ollie O'Donovan, and he has got work to do. They have to anchor up for this very tight right-hander. It's a pretty narrow part of the circuit. Tracy goes wide. Jordan tries to squirt up the inside of him there, but he can't quite level with him, and so George Tracy hangs on up front as they head from the loose back onto the tarmac. End of that one, briefly on the tarmac, and then they go through Clervaux Corner once again. Once more, Ollie O'Donovan flips the car sideways there. If anything, he's dropping away just a little bit from this great battle that's going on up front. Jordan driving this Saab for the first time in anger. He spent most of the year driving his Ford Focus run by Will Gollum's team. He's also been doing occasional races in the Seat Cupra Championship, the full circuit race series. And now yet another new car for him to acquaint himself with. O'Donovan, though, now in the new shape 9.3, right on his tail, and Steve Hill there arrives very sideways and far too fast. George Tracy goes wide, Steve Hill in the background gets it wrong and goes off the circuit, goes the wrong side of the market tyres, and O'Donovan comes past both the leaders to grab the advantage now. Fantastic! Ollie O'Donovan, in a very, very quick car indeed, storms his way through into the lead of the race. That's the car that Per Eklund's been using in this year's European Championship. It hasn't been always the fastest machine out there, but this weekend, in this first semi-final, O'Donovan is rising to the challenge. In second place then is George Tracy, and third now is Andrew Jordan as they head onto the loose once again. Checkered flag at the ready, this time then to end the first semi-final, and it's been all action. Andrew Jordan down in third. He's going to be able to make a move on George Tracy coming out of this last hairpin. It looks as though Ollie O'Donovan is good for a win though. The Saab accelerating its way now up towards the checkered flag that flies. Ollie O'Donovan wins the first semi-final ahead of Tracy, and Andrew Jordan finishing third. And George Tracy looks pretty happy about life as well. O'Donovan the winner then ahead of Tracy, and Andrew Jordan third. Steve Hill finishing fourth, and Andy Grant's Ford Escort is fifth. Now there, back in the paddock, you can see the team working away on Chris Evans' car to try to repair the damage, and I'm not entirely sure why, because Evans, having not been able to take part in the restart of that semi-final, effectively is out of the weekend. Now, the team working on the car suggesting they want to get him back out for another race. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. This is what happened to cause the red flag. A good start by Evans, and just look at O'Donovan. He brakes ludicrously late, charges up the inside. It's a big impact into the side of Evans' car. He gets struck a second time. That's what puts Jordan off the circuit as well. But as you've seen, Evans' team curiously working on the car. Semi-final 2 is about to get underway. Bit of creeping, I think, for 1 or 2 on the back of the grid there. Tony Bell's Toyota Corolla looked very, very keen away from the lights. It's Kevin Proctor's Ford Puma on the outside, and up the inside tries to go Kenneth Hansen in the Citroen C4, and it's Proctor who takes over the lead there. Hansen only second at the first corner, running a bit wide. John McCluskey, number 3, he gets forced wide. But a demon getaway by this man, Kevin Proctor, puts him into the lead. Kenneth Hansen, the multiple European champion, runner-up in this year's European Series, in second place. Tony Bell is third, right up behind him is John McCluskey, and I think Bell got a nudge in the back. He goes off the road, he's damaged the car, look, as he heads back to the tarmac. It looked like he got a tap in the tail, and now he's in real difficulties, as there is Kenneth Hansen. He's in second place, and he's right on the tail then now of Kevin Proctor in the Ford Puma. For third place, there you can see John McCluskey keeping Steve Mundy at bay, and this is Kenneth Hansen's view. You're on board with a real master of Rallycross. Now, where, if at all possible, can he find a way by Kevin Proctor's Ford Puma? They go through Clairvaux Corner in front of a very, very big crowd at Croft this weekend. It's great to see renewed enthusiasm for Rallycross in this country, and hopefully it won't be too long before the European Championship returns to the UK. Onto the loose. There a change of pace because squeezing up on the inside, number 5, Helmut Holfeldt, goes ahead of Steve Mundy. Holfeldt's Escort RS2000 goes ahead of the Focus now. That's the fight for 4th place. Up front though, it's still Kevin Proctor ahead of Kenneth Hansen, and that really could well prove to be the shock result of the weekend if he can deny Hansen a chance of victory in this second semi-final. Very wide there went Steve Mundy, and out of the race is Tony Bell. You can see the damage to the front of the car. He did get that big biff in the back earlier on from John McCluskey, and as Tony Bell finds his way back onto the circuit, I'm afraid what's left of the Toyota Corolla is not going a whole lot further. Meantime, Kevin Proctor is on his last lap of semi-final 2, and Kenneth Hansen tries to sprint up alongside him there. Proctor has driven the race of his life here to keep Hansen at bay. This should ensure the pair of them go through into the A final, and Kenneth Hansen has just realised that he may not necessarily win the Superprix this year either. He's got a problem there, suddenly slowed coming through the hairpin, couldn't pick up a gear, couldn't get the acceleration down, and so Kevin Proctor takes the flag to win, and Kenneth Hansen comes home second. And Kevin Proctor is going to be absolutely overjoyed about that. Kenneth Hansen finishing second. That's good enough to put him into the A final. Helmut Holfeldt third, John McCluskey fourth, and it's Steve Mundy's Ford Focus that rounds out the top 5 in semi-final 2. Now the story of semi-final 1 is not over yet. Rumblings in the paddock about a possible second rerun of the race. There are the drivers. Let's try and find out what's going on.
They've said that after the race they found out that Christopher should have been able to take the restart, but clearly he wouldn't have been able to with the car in that state. So
the race has been run. There has been a racing incident off the start line, and it continued on, and since then there's been a restart. We started on the lights and we finished on the checker flag, and as far as we're concerned the race has run. Goalposts are certainly moving here, so just waiting to see what rules they want to make up.
Well, despite the misgivings of some drivers, it looks as though we are going to have another rerun of semi-final one. Drivers heading to the grid, including Mike Jordan's son.
Christopher was stuck there with a damaged rear suspension, couldn't take the restart, but they've restarted the race, and as far as I'm concerned, they've started it with a green light, they've ended it with a checkered flag. That's the race. If you're not in it, you know, there's lots of us, let's face it, I'd love to go back to my last touring car race at Silverstone and say, right guys, can we just leave that a couple of weeks and I'll come and do it in a few weeks when I'm a bit better, because I was in fourth and I could probably get on the podium. It's an absolute joke.
Well, it's the decision of the clerk of the course, Chris Gibson, and his decision is final. So, semi-final one, rerun, gets underway with Chris Evans on the front of the grid. And he's second now, and this time he makes a good start. Ollie O'Donovan on the outside, Steve Hill's away quickly as well. So Christopher Evans leads as they go down towards Clevo Corner. Hill storms up on the inside, George Tracy trying to go through, and O'Donovan there just tickling the back of Steve Hill's Mitsubishi. Andrew Jordan didn't make that good a start this time around in the red Saab, but Christopher Evans, it is them up front. The team has worked very hard over the last 20 minutes or so to get the car back together again, and that is Andy Grant pulling off. He won the repechage to get into the semi-finals, but Andy Grant's weekend comes to an end as now Evans is pulling away. Steve Hill second, Ollie O'Donovan is third, George Tracy fourth, and Andrew Jordan fifth. And not only does this race have an extra car in it, it's also got a very different look compared to what we saw earlier on. Off there also goes number 70, Chris Langley, and that could well be the end of his race. George Tracy there with Andrew Jordan right up behind him, and there's been a bit of contact somewhere, look, because the rear of George Tracy's car not looking like it did a lap ago, and Jordan storms round the outside of him. Andrew Jordan in the Saab goes through, or does he? Tracy clips the tyres and then spins, round he goes. There was enough tar smoke anyway from his own rubber fouling against the bodywork, and that spin hasn't really helped visibility. He limps away. In the meantime, Chris Evans looks as though now he's on target to score victory in this semi-final. Steve Hill, who's moved from rallying into Rallycross this year, is second. Ollie O'Donovan third now. O'Donovan thought he'd won this race. He won the first run of it. Here's a replay of Andrew Jordan going around the outside of Tracy at Clevo Corner. Tracy thumps the tyres on the inside with probably enough force there to have damaged the suspension as round he goes. The car didn't seem to want to get going again, and I just wonder whether he's damaged the front right suspension of the car. Checkered flag, this time for Christopher Evans, but for second place it's Steve Hill, just being able to keep at bay Ollie O'Donovan as they turn their way onto the loose section of the circuit. And Evans can thank his lucky stars that this race has been rerun, because this will put him into the A final now. Steve Hill has really adapted well to Rallycross this year. He's second. Ollie O'Donovan, a bit frustrated to say the least, is third. And with the flag at the ready, who's going to be second? Can Hill hang on in there in the Mitsubishi Lancer? Yes, he can. It's a win then for Christopher Evans. Second is Steve Hill. Ollie O'Donovan is third. So Christopher Evans goes through into the A final. Hill, O'Donovan and Jordan chase him home in a rather controversial rerun of the first semi-final. It does, though, mean the A final should be excellent, and there's more action after the break. Welcome back to Croft. This is the Shannon's Holdings Rallycross Superprix, and a chance to catch up with one or two other winners over the weekend. The Super Series 2000 final was won by Glenn Christian Sorensen's Ford Puma, fending off Gary Dixon and Paul Buckmaster, while Steve Heppenstall was the man to beat in the stock hatch category. He came home victorious ahead of Ian Horn and Tony Lynch. But one of the best battles of the weekend came in the Junior Rallycross Series, where Ben Power and Ben Renison battled up to the last corner, leaning on one another, and it was Ben Power who was just able to keep Renison at bay and celebrated with his own brand of donut. The Super National final about to get underway. The Volvo of Urban Begstrom there on the front of the grid, and this is the opposition, the Lotus Exige of Dave Bellamy lining up with him. And these two have proved to be very, very rapid all weekend. But also in this, you have Herbjorn Haug, the wild thing as he's known with the Mercedes, who won the two-wheel drive trophy yesterday. He could be a factor in this as we are about to go racing them. The Super National final is go. Good start by Bellamy on the outside of the grid. Slowish start by Kim Steinholtz's car as they go down towards Clevo Corner for the first time. Is it going to be the Lotus or the much bigger Volvo that grabs the lead? Bellamy on the outside, charging up on the inside though, goes Urban Begstrom. Bergstrom takes over the lead then. Bellamy second and looking for a way through, but that was a really brave effort by Bergstrom up on the inside to grab the advantage. In all sorts of trouble at the back of the grid there was Julian Godfrey getting all sideways, but up front it's still Urban Bergstrom then in the lead of the race. He's got Dave Bellamy going after him in the Lotus. They head onto the loose section of the circuit now for the first time. The Lotus almost dwarfed by the Volvo ahead of it, and Bergstrom just being able to maintain the advantage as Bellamy now challenges on the outside as they get to the hairpin. Is he going to work for him? No, it's not. He's going to have to duck in behind. There's a little bit of tarmac there they can use, and in all sorts of trouble there is Kim Steinsholt. He made a slow start, and now it looks as though Steinsholt is going no further in the race either. Across the tarmac, over the start and finish line, down towards Clevo Corner. Very heavy braking here. The nose pitches down on the Volvo up front of Urban Bergstrom, but Dave Bellamy is right on his tail now. Can he find a way through? Bellamy looking on the outside then as they power their way up through Hawthorne and then onto the loose section of the circuit. There's the wild thing. In other words, Herbjorn Haug with what's left of his very spectacular Mercedes C290. He has driven that car very hard all weekend, as you can see, and it's looking very battle-scarred indeed. As round the outside comes Bellamy. Is this going to give him the lead? No, it's not, because Bergstrom barges up the inside, shoulders him out of the way. They touch again. The Volvo, it's a much bigger car. It's in the lead of the race once again. Urban Bergstrom then leads as they come over the line. Past the checkered flag point. We're not ready for that just yet, because this is still a great battle going on for honours. Bergstrom versus Dave Bellamy, and the Brit wants a win on home ground, as it were, here, but Urban Bergstrom has driven really well so far to keep him at bay. This is the last lap, and again Bellamy is challenging on the inside. This time at Hawthorne's, can he go through? Gets right up alongside. There's contact between the pair of them. Very sideways goes Bellamy there, almost making solid contact with the back of the car. I think he had to pitch it sideways to avoid doing just that as they bounce their way across the loose once again. Dave Bellamy is running out of options. Can Bergstrom hang on in there for just one more corner? He's managed to keep Bellamy at bay race long. Is he going to be able to do it? Up to the checkered flag, he goes a bit wide. Bellamy squeezes up the inside and he grabs the lead. Fantastic. Bellamy gets his nose in front of the last corner. Bergstrom fights back, but Dave Bellamy wins a tremendous race and he's absolutely delighted. Urban Bergstrom finishes second, and that could hardly have been closer between the pair. It was decided at the last corner, and this is Bellamy's moment early on. Of course, on that last lap, he had to get a bit sideways, I think, to avoid thumping the back of Bergstrom's car. That lost him a little bit of time, but undaunted, he fought back and up towards the hairpin. Have a look at this. On the outside he goes. Bergstrom brakes as late as he dares, and that means that he locks up a little, he runs wide, he gets sideways, he loses momentum, and Bellamy goes through. Despite the fact that Bergstrom bounces off him a couple of times, Bellamy takes the flag. He's being cheered on by everybody there, including the fans as well as the marshals, and both of them celebrate in style. But it's a win for Dave Bellamy at the end of the Super National final here at the Rallycross Superprix. Urban Bergstrom finishing second, Stan Egil Jensen is third ahead of Herbjorn Haug, and Mike Seller comes home fifth.
I didn't know Volvo could be so wide. I give it everything. I went inside, outside, and he just kept shutting the door, and I think the pressure, he made a very slight mistake at the end, and we sneaked through, thank goodness. I'm lost for words. It was absolutely fantastic. It was the best race I've had in a long time, if not ever. It was a real gent to race with, Urban, and he was the first to congratulate me. I'm made up.
Good to see such feeling between the drivers, having enjoyed a superb race, and there's one more still to come at Croft, and this is the one that everybody has been waiting for all weekend. The Superprix final is about to get underway. Kevin Proctor on pole position, he won semi-final 2, remember. Christopher Evans lines up alongside him, the winner of semi-final 1. Kenneth Hansen is on the second row of the grid. He's never won the Superprix. He aims to put that right this weekend, and Steve Hill lines up alongside him. The end of a superb weekend of racing at Croft. Is this going to be another great race? Let's find out. The Superprix final is go! Good start by Evans, who storms away from the line. Kevin Proctor makes a slow start in comparison, and that enables Kenneth Hansen to go past him as well. Down to Clairvaux corner for the first time. It's Christopher Evans in the lead. Hansen second. Steve Hill gets turned sideways. Ollie O'Donovan goes off there. Through the gravel on the outside of Clairvaux goes O'Donovan. But up front, it remains Christopher Evans ahead of Kenneth Hansen. Evans, last year's winner. That's Andrew Jordan's Saab, looking a bit battle-scarred. Look, he's obviously got into the back of somebody. The front balance is damaged and about to drop off. The bonnet's all deranged, but he's ahead of the newer Saab in the hands of Ollie O'Donovan. Per Eklund is here this weekend to watch his two cars. He's been pretty impressed by the driving of Andrew Jordan, but up front, Evans ahead of Hansen. Kenneth Hansen goes up the inside. Can't find a way past last year's winner, though. They dance their way across the loose, back onto the tarmac. The Division 1 car's the fastest within Rallycross. Turbocharged engines, four-wheel drive to help them along as well. And it's the Astra ahead of the Citroën C4. That Citroën, a new car to Kenneth Hansen this year. He's had some success with it in the European Championship, but not really as much as he would have wanted. And so, having been a runner-up in the European Series, he wants to try to go out on this season on a high by winning the Superprix. But Christopher Evans wants to win it for the second year in a row, and therefore he is driving very hard indeed to keep Hansen at bay. Kevin Proctor is third, and he needs really for these two to hold one another up ahead and then try and latch onto their tail. Then nose to tail look as they come out of the hairpin, sprinting their way now up towards the checkered flag point, then back onto the tarmac. Kenneth Hansen is in touch with Christopher Evans, but he hasn't yet been able to find a way really to challenge down towards that first corner at Clairvaux. The gap's not really coming down between the two, is it? It's about a length, that's all. But Hansen here is finding a really tough opponent in Evans. It It looked as though Evans' weekend had come to an end midway through the day when he was knocked around in that first semi-final. When it was rerun, the car was repaired, he won that race, and that put him onto the front row of the grid for this race. Kevin Proctor there, the second semi-final winner, in third place at the moment. The Ford Puma having pulled off the shock result of the weekend, really, by beating Kenneth Hansen in that second semi-final. And Hansen there goes into the back of Evans, who slows down for the hairpin. He's got Hansen right on his tail, though, now as they accelerate once again over the loose part of the circuit. Now, can Kevin Proctor join in and make it a three-way fight for the lead here? Certainly, Kenneth Hansen is now becoming ever more vigorous in his quest to get past Evans. Maybe a bit cold at Croft this weekend. The light may be fading gradually, but the crowd have stayed in force to watch this main race of the weekend, the Superprix final, and a great race it is. Evans then keeping the Swede Hansen at bay. Third is Proctor, there fourth is Jordan, fifth is Ollie O'Donovan, sixth behind him in number 5 is Helmut Holfeldt. And up front, Christopher Evans is still looking to make it back-to-back wins in the Rallycross Superprix, and he's getting ever closer to so doing. But look at Proctor now. Proctor right on the back of Hansen as Evans goes wide there. That's going to give Kenneth Hansen a chance now possibly to challenge. He goes up the inside as they come back onto the tarmac. They're side by side there. They touch again. Hansen's on the outside of the road, but still Evans is able to move across, and Proctor goes up on the inside. Fantastic. Proctor goes through. He goes second. He goes wide. He goes back down to third again. Kenneth Hansen wriggles his way back ahead, but that may well have cost him too much time. We're on the last lap of the Superprix final. It's Evans still in the lead as ever he was. Hansen's back up to second, and back down to third has gone Proctor. Across the loose part of the circuit they come now, making their way up towards the hairpin. There's just one more corner to go for Christopher Evans before he's able to claim a second Superprix win. He's got Kenneth Hansen right on his tail, and again Evans goes a little bit wide there. Checkered flag at the ready, they're side by side, and through comes Hansen. Kenneth Hansen's going to do it on the line. Fantastic. Kenneth Hansen all over the grass, but he's done it. Kenneth Hansen wins the Rallycross Superprix. What a superb race and a great manoeuvre right on the last corner of the last lap. He took full advantage of a tiny error from Christopher Evans, who ran wide, and so Hansen wins. Evans is second, Kevin Proctor's Ford Puma third, Andrew Jordan fourth, and Ollie O'Donovan fifth at the end of a superb race.
I think I have some European country that I haven't won in, but this was important for me to win here also, because we have tried a couple of times before, and it haven't been. Last year was good, but we didn't really reach it, so it feels very good to win this year.
And that's the way to win them, isn't it? Last corner, last lap.
Yeah, I did know that when I lost on the last lap that I needed to push very hard on the long gravel corner to try it anyway, and I think Christopher made a little bigger mistake than he did the laps before, and that was just enough for me to pass.
They say the look of the Irish is good, but certainly my luck has not been in today. I've been in a situation 4 times today where we've been in a real good position and the race had to be restarted.
And what about the Saab? Have you enjoyed running that?
I really enjoyed myself. You know, the best part that tracks me all this weekend has been on the gravel, on the back loose down into this right hander. Like, you know, you could just slide that thing for 200 metres. It's just a brilliant car.
Brilliant car, brilliant racing, brilliant weekend here at Croft at the end of the Shannon Holdings Rallycross Superprix. It's time for Kenneth Hansen to celebrate victory, joined there on the podium by Christopher Evans and Kevin Proctor. Well, they managed to beat him on the podium if they couldn't on the track. The Super Swede gets soaked here at Croft. The champagne is sprayed at the end of a superb weekend of racing in the Rallycross Superprix.